Testing, testing.
Testing my butthole.
What?
I don't know.
Why would you say that, bro?
Bro, I don't know why I said that.
Alright, so we have an intro for this one, right?
I hope it's not the touching my butthole one. That'd be weird.
I have that recorded, so I can do whatever I want with it.
To live in the nocturnal realm. It seems that the night brings the idea that everything is asleep and you're left with no distractions, and your mind decides to wander around the barriers of imagination, which then lets your thoughts explode into many fragments that are captured by the process of your unlimited mind. But what if the night brought forth a new vision? A vision that you harness to create whatever art it is you do. A focus that brings any idea for creativity to be amplified by the unlimited realm of your imagination with no restraints. To just let creation flow with intention to grow. Try this. Pick an art that you find interest. You might be a painter, a musician, a writer, anything progressive that makes you feel good. Now go outside in the night. Lay down and look at the skies over you. Watch a show of the universe for 10 minutes with no distractions from anything. Simply get lost and forget about everything. By staring at the unlimited, it brings a clear vision that gives your inner light to expand into your mind. The inner light meant to shine the night's darkness. Now, stand up. Close your eyes and stand still. Breathe. Breathe gently, just like the breeze that passes right behind you. Feel the universe of the night, the energy in and all around you. Now, ask yourself to find the reason for the expression that is intended to become manifested. The meaning to the art you wish to create. But how are you going to create this? Simple. By opening your eyes and start creating. You simply pick up your art and start making. The natural flow of being organic into the art that is made, to be honest and true to your expression. By being real to create the meaning felt with intention. To walk into a world created by your inner mind's dimension. The nocturnal realm of the night that elevates your expression.
That gives me chills.
Gives me chills too, man.
So, how long does it take you to like research and practice this subject?
I mean, as far as trying to create it, or just for in general for everyone trying to do it.
Well, just like like practicing how to do it and then kind of learning it.
Well, to be honest, it's just one of those things that you could read books and get inspired by them, but it really depends if you really want to take action with the words that were spoken to you, because books, they speak to you. They don't, I mean, obviously you read them, but if you're really listening, they speak to you.
Right.
And it's just one of those things that you just apply the knowledge that you gain and go with it. And with this DMT truth, this technique of just looking out into the unlimited to create art, it's just one of the things that I found doing by myself and realizing that that's what I do to clear my mind and go with it and start expressing. I mean, even before I wrote this DMT truth, the inspiration to try to inspire people is the only inspiration that I was getting. And I feel that the only way you practice it is if you keep doing it. And that's like with any art you do. And Yeah, I mean, it's just one of those things that you don't really have to research. It's just a matter of just doing it.
So was this something you came up with all yourself, or is it something you saw and then maybe expanded on?
To be honest, it's something that I've always done as a kid. As a young kid growing up and just looking to the skies and just questioning like what is out there and what are the limits. It just kind of winds up your imagination to think very complex and come up with things and come up with routines that eventually build up to what you do, but at the same time you don't know that you've been doing it. It goes from there, but it's just a matter of doing it, like from my first point. But
I really liked that you didn't tell people that they had to do a certain kind of art. You're kind of leaving it open. It seems like you're giving people guidelines to help train or work out their talents in a creative way. So in a way, you're using your creative talents to inspire other people to use their creative talents.
exactly. And that's exactly, you hit it right on the head, because I feel that everyone has a path, and your path could be you might be the best painter, and you just pick up a brush and you paint something so crazy looking and so abstract, but to the point where it just came so natural to you. You could be a writer where you could just write all your thoughts into something and just keep going with it and putting into it. And at the same time, the writer could be using the painter's imagination to paint inspiration for his own writing, while the painter could do vice versa as well. So it's just a matter of everyone just going together and expanding on their own inspiration, because in the end of the day, you're going to inspire someone else.
Yeah, I agree with that, and I'm a firm believer. I think there's a huge problem with people looking at other people's writing and being like, okay, if I'm gonna write horror stories, I need to write it like Stephen King or these other authors. And
Exactly.
I think it's better to kind of like focus maybe on what you can bring to the table. What's your unique talent? Maybe you can change the way horror stories are written, So I really like that. That's what you're kind of doing. You're just trying to be yourself, and the universe kind of made you unique on purpose, So I think it's important that you don't really compare yourself to other people that are successful in a way that's like, I need to be exactly like them, but you can compare yourself to them to kind of see where you're at and where you need to go and how much work you need to put in. But I guess in your case, you're kind of explaining to people that they don't have to do that necessarily. They could go outside and look at the moon and try to draw some inspiration from nature too.
Yes, because it's a matter of just looking at all the frequencies around you, because eyesight, hearing, everything's a frequency. Everything is, and you could use your eyes and just grow with what you wanted to do. Like you could listen to music, but at the same time as you're painting, you're using your eyes to harness the frequencies from the music to go on to the painting, and it's a whole give and take world, how everything works around here, and that's exactly what it is.
Yeah.
But I appreciate your guys' comments on the DMT truth. I wrote it specifically for the Mind Movers podcast, and the next one's gonna be better.
That's awesome. I mean, I don't know how you're gonna top that one. That one was really good.
Yeah, dude, you messed up. You hit your top point. That one's it's gonna be your best one. I wanted to ask you.
Yeah.
So basically, like the theory behind it is almost kind of like the same as dreaming. I feel like maybe the only difference is that the fact that it's at night and you have that moon in the sky to kind of pull these deep thoughts out of your mind. Because I notice at nighttime, I can write like it's nobody's business. I write like all my blogs and all my other stuff that I type up for the podcast, and even for work when I'm doing work stuff. I type it all at night because I'm so much more creative at night. It's like the moon is pulling this creativity right out of me, and I got that vibe from your DMT truth.
Definitely, because that's the same vibe I feel, man. And it's like everything's dark, but at the same time, there's no distractions. You can even look at the sky and you could pick one star and you could stare at that one star and just really dissect it and just forget about the other stars and just really look at it and be like, there's that one star that makes up the whole image that I'm seeing right now. Where is that star? Why and how? And then you do that to the other star, and then you do that to the moon, and then you do that to the tree there, and then you do that to the river, and then you do that to everything organic, and it really makes you feel like I'm part of this, and I'm getting inspiration from this, which just elevates your expression in art, and it keeps growing and progressing. And that's why I said, the next one's going to be better because it's always just progressing.
Right. And another thing I like about it is it's very similar to almost like the thoughts that you get when you're laying in bed at night. When you're right before you're about to go to bed and those deep thoughts just hit like, your dreams and ambitions are just like flooding your brain. Like you're like building this future in your head. Like, yep, I'm going to do this and this and this. And then you fall asleep and forget about it and it never happens. Whereas if you're outside and you're looking up at the stars and these same thoughts are hitting you, your dreams, your ambitions, you're not going to fall asleep. You're going to get up and go do it.
Exactly.
So
wouldn't it be beautiful? Like sorry to cut you off.
No, go ahead.
Wouldn't it be beautiful to live in a society where it's not a big deal if you accidentally stayed up all night? I think that would be kind of cool. Like,
yeah, because
I
mean, the perception to be out at like 2 a.m. is like, what is he, some type of crackhead?
Yeah.
I'm just enjoying the night sky and my shoes off and I'm just staring at the unlimited. Let me be.
Yeah, like if all the thoughts are coming at that time, just let it be, let it happen. But it's usually like, well, I got work, I got to get up at 6:30, I need to get to bed, and I don't know. There's probably a lot of famous artists out there and writers, and I'm sure you could find several examples of people who would tell you, well, I spent most of my nights awake and I just decided to write or invent things or mess around and follow my dreams, and they ended up being successful because we're sleeping a good portion of our lives.
Oh yeah, and like a lot of that is these writers, they're not making money off anything they've written, especially if they haven't written anything yet. So they have normal jobs. They still have to wake up in the morning. It's like a sacrifice, Like I wake up at like 6:30, 7 o'clock for work. I still stay up and, carry out my moon-driven thoughts till at least 12, 1, sometimes 2, depending on like what's going on inside my head. Because it's like I don't want to sleep on it. I want to get it out. I want to get it on paper or on the computer or something.
Exactly. And it seems that if you do go to sleep, you just end up having these vivid dreams that would have mirrored what you were thinking if you were awake. So it's like
that's another
you
good point.
It's like you want to take the opportunity to like harness that creativity from your dream realm and just apply it into the art that you wish to express it on.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't get those exact dreams. I had a really weird dream the other night. I was swimming with pterodactyls.
Oh, yeah.
I don't even know how. I woke up, I was like, what the hell? I was just swimming with dinosaur birds.
Damn, that's tight, dude.
Yeah, I mean, it was, dude, don't get me wrong. I had a great time. Those are some cool pterodactyls, but I didn't have any dreams about, like, actual dreams or whatever you want to call them.
I don't know if you heard, but I'm pretty sure the guy that invented the hypodermic needle, pretty sure it's hypodermic needle, the ones with the holes in them, he had a dream that he was being chased by tribal people that had spears, and they were chasing him through the woods, and he woke up and he was super terrified. Then he kind of thought for a second, and he was like, what was on the end of those sticks? They weren't like spearheads, and it was a hypodermic needle, and he invented it.
That's the most insane thing ever. I never heard that.
That's awesome.
So I'm sure there's plenty of examples of people inventing things or coming to a really great idea through something they dreamed about.
Dinosaur birds that clean up trash. I'm onto it.
A T-Rex butler.
A T-Rex
Yes.
butler. A T-Rex butler. He doesn't have any hands. He would suck.
That uses his feet.
His tail.
Yeah, there you go.
That'll do. But yeah, dude, that was one of the best, short mini speeches I've heard in a while. Very inspiring, and I think the listeners are totally gonna dig it.
Thank you.
Yeah, dude, I totally think you should keep doing that, and it'd be fun to keep putting them on the podcast. And I don't know if you have any plans of putting them on. You said YouTube?
I mean, I've been pondering on it, but I'll see where it's gonna go. But for now, the DMT Truth speeches, they're gonna be home to the Mind Movers podcast.
Nice.
That's awesome.
So everyone, all your supporters could definitely check it out every now and then, and just listen to the next one every month.
Yeah, next time, we want to bring you on for a full podcast.
Okay.
So if you want to prepare a DMT Truth and anything else, that'd be awesome. We'll really dive deep into the nocturnal realm.
Definitely, that's where I tend to stay at.
Yeah, I've noticed that trend. Your first DMT Truth was about moon energy, wasn't it?
Mm-hmm.
Yes. Yeah, it's moon energy.
I'm seeing a trend here.
I'm seeing a trend too.
And you know what? It's actually, you could apply this DMT Truth to that moon one and just even elevate it extremely more.
Wow.
Yeah.
It's like they're kind of building blocks.
It's kind of like they're all connected, right?
Right.
There you go.
Cool. All right, guys. Well, thanks for the time. And I'll definitely be coming back with some more DMT Truths. And
awesome. We'll be waiting for you.
Cool.
All right. Thank you. I really appreciate it.
All right, guys. Have a good one.
Thanks.
Later,
you too,
bro.
man. Okay, so I guess I'll start in the technical stuff. We'll get this podcast rolling. All right, guys. Glad you could listen to Mind Movers Podcast. Remember, we have a website, MindMoversPodcast.com. MindMoversPodcast.com. It has a lot of cool stuff on it. It has our book list. It has Herb of the Week listed on there. It has some cool blogs that Brando wrote. And all the episodes are on there as well. So we highly recommend that you check out the website. Also, there's a contact form. I do like to shout people out for sending us emails through the contact form. So one of these days we'll have to get a list and read those names. Don't you think?
Yeah, we should definitely talk about some of those people who send us these long and interesting
And awesome.
Yeah, really great feedback, and I enjoy reading them every day. So it'd be cool to give them a shout out.
For sure. And let's see. We're also on iTunes. You can subscribe. What you have to do is get the podcast. You have to get the podcast app on your phone and then search Mind Movers Podcast. You'll find us. Then you can subscribe, and all the new episodes will be sent to your phone for you to download. Also, we appreciate ratings and reviews. Those are nice to have on iTunes. And you can also check out... Thanks for the editing, man. Appreciate it. You can also check us out on SoundCloud. Those have the most recent podcasts on there. And we're up to... I'm going to just turn video off while you're just goofing around over there. And so we're about close to 900 subs on SoundCloud, so that's pretty cool. I don't know when we're going to be releasing our own app to listen to the podcast. I'm sure we can probably do that soon. Subscribe to us on YouTube. We'll be putting up videos periodically on YouTube, probably, since summer's coming. Hikes and things like that. make sure you use hashtag MindMoversPodcast when talking about the show on Twitter. We look at that stuff, and it's always a joy to read quotes and things from the podcast or ideas, and it's a good way to connect with other people that listen to the show. So I think I covered everything.
Yeah, you got it, bro. Let's dive into Herb of the Week.
Books.
Oh, books. Most of the reading I've done this week was in my herb book, The Way of Herbs, which is where I get most of the information for the Herb of the Week topic. And I enjoy reading it. You learn about a lot of different herbs, herbal medicines, Western herbs, Eastern herbs, kitchen herbs. They have a lot of remedies in there that are very useful. They touch on magnetic therapy, which is pretty cool. They talk a lot about yin and yang. They have a really good chapter on yin and yang, which they talk about how yin and yang is the basis of all Chinese herbal medicine. Like some conditions are yin, some are yang. Some conditions are yin and have a little bit of yang. Some are yang with a little bit of yin, which is kind of like life. So it's a great way to go about, medicine and treating people.
Nice. And we already have that one on our website, too.
Yep.
So if you guys are trying to look for a place to purchase it, you can head over there. Right now, I'm reading Quest for Gnosis, and that is a really good book, actually. I have it on my Kindle, and it's this guy named Gabriel D. Roberts, or Gabriel, however you want to say it, I don't really know. But it's the Quest for Gnosis, and it's spirituality beyond dogma. Basically, each chapter is set up as an interview between him and the guests he has on for like his book. And I mean, he had people like Graham Hancock on there,
Wow.
Abby Martin. There's a lot of other ones on there, but the first chapter that I read was this guy named Odd Edges, and he was talking about all his ideas for why the universe is a video game. Basically, like, all these different people bring in their expert view of something. So it's like if I talk to you about what you think about the world, and you just dump all this information on me that you've thought about for a really long time. So that's really what he did, and I think he's trying to, like, tie it all together in a way. Super interesting book. The video game chapter was really intense, and the guy had a lot of arguments to why it could be a video game. I definitely highly recommend that book because it's a book that fits my personality really well, taking a bunch of different expert opinions and trying to tie them all together, finding similarities between each person and what they're saying. It's really good so far, and I've been alternating between that and Power of Now.
That seems pretty awesome because it's almost like a podcast in a book form. You know, like if we were to write down what went on the past 10 podcasts and put it in a book, it would be very similar to that.
Yep.
Maybe different topics, but similar.
It's broken down with his questions and then their responses. And it's really interesting, actually. And he ties in a lot of different perspectives and tries to find, like, similarities. So that's really interesting. And it's he's like kind of got a religion type study, I'm pretty sure, or he's really well studied on Christian religion. So because that's what he was kind of forced into as a child, go to church and stuff like that. So he takes that perspective and adds it to it. But I don't think he really follows the Christian way, if that makes sense. Like, he was forced into it, and then he saw a lot of flaws in it, I guess.
Right.
So
that's interesting.
It's super cool. So he's trying to take spirituality and spirituality, the abstract side, and then like the concrete side of it, and the realistic side, and he's trying to like find like truth within all of it, I guess. So
Just mash it all together, load it in a cannonball, and just shoot it and see what comes out of it.
pretty much, or put it all in a blender and blend it and see what kind of liquid you got.
And drink it, maybe.
I would.
That sounds risky, but
No.
I would do it. I almost ate a grub today at work. Someone offered it to me. I said, it's full of protein. I said, yeah. Nah, I'm good. Thought about it, though.
I
Came
would
pretty
have
close.
done it, thrown it in a bin and cooked it.
Yeah, I should have did that. Maybe next time. All right, I'm
All
going
right.
to dive into Herb of the Week.
Herb of the week.
All right, Herb of the Week is chrysanthemum, and the name is derived from the Greek words chrysos, which means golden, and anthos, which means flower. The family is Compositae, which is the same as like a daisy or any of those kind of flowering herbs. The part used is the flowers. The energy is cold. The taste is bitter but pleasant. Systems affected are the blood, nerves, digestion, and the liver. Properties include alterative, which means it's a blood purifier, antipyretic, which means it prevents and reduces fevers, and a carminative, which means it relieves gas. It cools the body by removing excess acids, which cause heat and inflammation from the blood, which is why it's a very important herb in Chinese medicine for treating yang ailments. Used to counter-react. We do this thing while we record where one person is speaking intensely and the other person likes to make weird, funny faces and try to get the other person to laugh. It's very interesting. Today's recording's going interesting so far. All right, it's used to counteract inflammation and pneumonia, and it can also treat fevers, headaches, influenza, strep, and staph infections, as well as dizziness. A rinse can be used for skin infections. It can be used to relieve nasal and head congestion, and it can also brighten and improve your vision, especially at nighttime. Studies show that the biochemical constituent in chrysanthemum called acetine, or acetin, I'm not sure how to say it, can
Butchered.
inhibit malignant cell growth in the prostate region. In the East, these flowers have been part of traditional medicine for over 2,000 years. They were brought to the West around 200 years ago, and sadly, instead of using this powerful medicinal herb for medicine, we instead plant them as decorations in the fall when they are flowering, and then we throw them away as if, they are of no use to us. So that's kind of a comparison of how things are done in the East and how things are done in the West. Before using any of these herbs, be sure to check on your allergies, because it's so common nowadays. However, it wasn't before, that every single kid has an allergy nowadays. I notice it everywhere I go. I have no allergies, so it's like the weirdest thing. Everywhere I go, every little kid's like, oh, I'm allergic to that. Oh, I'm allergic to that. Like, what the fuck? How can you be allergic to Earth? You live here.
I know. I've always thought allergies were kind of weird.
Yeah, they're definitely man-made. We kind of screwed ourselves on that one.
I think so.
Same with asthma. I mean, I think asthma is kind of like a side effect of allergies, right?
I'm not sure.
Not necessarily, but I'm sure allergies, if your throat's all full of pollen and you're allergic to pollen, you're definitely going to have trouble breathing.
Yeah, I think it's definitely weird that
Yeah.
that we have allergies, but I don't know. There's a lot of different theories out there for that.
Yeah, it's like you're born with these perfect lungs, and now you can barely breathe. You fucked up somewhere.
I
Whether
think
it's your eating or your environment, you did something wrong.
I think it's a mixture of things.
Yeah, I agree.
Like not being exposed to a lot of things when you're growing up, and maybe a mixture of that with antibiotics and food and stuff.
Yeah, we're kind of becoming like alien to nature, which is why we're increasing our allergies as well.
Well, you think about what Mick Dodge said, how he had all these problems, like, what was it, like feet problems and back problems or something, and then he just took his shoes off, started running around in the woods, and all of a sudden everything started to kind of heal itself.
Yeah.
Who knows? Like, people talk about how well our shoes are designed, but maybe they're not as good as our bare feet. Like, maybe we think they're decent. Maybe they're protecting us from walking on concrete all day, but concrete's way harder than, you know, the earth. Like,
yeah.
I mean, unless you're standing on mountains, but still, like, the foot is very flexible. I mean, if evolution is a thing, then our feet evolved to be like high performance feet, like, and we kind of add a rubber mat to it, and we're like, shoe.
Well, I think the shoe is kind of like an invention, you know. First we make a problem, and then we make a solution, you know. Oh, let's put concrete and pavement over the entire earth. Well, it kind of hurts to walk on. Now we can invent shoes. Well, shoes kind of messes up our body. Now we can fix that, and we just do all this stupid stuff to create jobs or money or
you're coming
whatever.
up with you're touching on a subject that's like, it happens all over. Like, it seems like there's problems that we created, and then we try to come up with these really, like, creative routes to get around the thing we just created, like the problem we just created. Instead of being like, here's the problem. Like, it's like a road. You're like, no, we're not going to invent tar that doesn't have potholes, so let's just keep filling them. It'll, like, we don't have enough money, and it's just like every single year in the place I live, Michigan, potholes, like, everywhere. This year, they're terrible because we had such a cold winter. So much ice, you know, so some of those look like they'll swallow a whole car. And people just wreck their car hitting one pothole. And it's just like, I've always looked at that, and I'm like, this is the dumbest thing ever. Like, every year, you guys go around and patch these everywhere. And it's just like, it's another thing. It's another example of we create something poorly, and then we just try to put Band-Aids on it.
Yeah, well, that's with all cars. I mean, you could make a car, like, if you took all the technology and the improvements that we've made and all this stuff that we've come out with, and you put that towards a car and made that car, you would have a car that would last you 100 years with no problems. But instead, we create these weak, crappy components that are built to wear out. So you have to buy a new car, or you have to get a new part, or you have to get it fixed.
Yeah. You touched on something that I've noticed a few things like that. Like, education is just like, let's not look at the development and, like, the structure of it. Let's just try to come out with new programs, like Common Core and all these weird things.
Yeah.
Instead of just being like, it's just surface thinking. It's like, we're not going to try to change the whole thing.
We don't need to change the curriculum. We need more iPads, and we need new computers, and we need an expansion. We got to expand. We got to make the outside of the building look really pretty, and you know, let's do all this other stuff. Let's retile the floor. Then the kids will be smarter.
And that's a thing going on right now, is everyone's trying to do this thing called flipped classrooms, and it's where teacher does all the recordings and puts them online, and students can watch the videos, like lectures and stuff, at home. And it's just like, well, now I'm doing homework at home. Now I'm doing school at home. and coming to class to do classwork, and they disguise it as, well, it's more fun for the kid at school because they don't have to sit through lectures. They get to do like hands-on experiments and things like that. And it's just like, well, they're still spending 40 hours a week at school, and now they have to watch all their lectures at home. Like, that sounds like a lot of school to me, you know?
That sounds like a 25-year-old working 2 jobs so he can afford a shitty apartment.
And here's one thing that I've always thought is super weird. When you get out into, like, the real world, your boss, not everywhere, but a lot of places, they'll say it's about quality, not quantity. And it's just, what has school been doing? School has been upping the amount of work. It's trying to get the quantity stuffed into the curriculum. It's trying to, oh, they're not learning math? Let's move it down lower. Let's move it down to 4th grade. Let's take algebra and put it in 3rd grade. They're just trying to fit more shit in there. And we obviously know that the quality is shit. And they're just upping the homework, upping the hours, upping the amount of work you have to do. And then you get out in the real world. They're like, and then you ask them what they're doing, and they say, we're preparing you for the real world. Then you get out in the real world, and you can cheat. It's called collaboration. You have to focus on quality, not quantity. Like, it's just, really? You prepare me for the real world? Everything's opposite.
And you got to be like, well, we're already in the real world. What other world is there?
Yeah,
I'm here already.
And if that's the real world, what world is this?
Yeah, because this is terrible. I don't want to sit here and listen to you talk about something that I have no interest, and not even if the kid has an interest in it, maybe the way that they're teaching is not the way that they're capable of learning.
Yeah. I mean, it's a weird subject. I've thought about it a few times, like real world versus society. Because we don't even really exist in the real world. You notice that? Like, I think Mick Dodge and people like him are in the real world. We're, like, in this world inside of the real world. We don't ever really get to experience, like... We experience real world things. Like, when you go backpacking and stuff. That's real world. But as soon as you come back into, like, work, school, shops, towns, governments, that's like a world inside of the real world. It's not really the real world.
I see what you're saying. I mean, I would say it's all real, but it's just, I don't know. It's not the same. You're right. It's not real. There's something about it.
It's almost like a petri dish that we're in.
Yeah, we're just in a petri dish.
Dude, I just thought of something perfect. I have a fish tank over there. To them, that is a real world. To them, that's like, okay, this is real. The water's real. These plants are real. The food that comes in here is real. If that's all they know, that's their real world. But if they jumped out of that and went into like a big ocean or a lake, that is the real world.
Wow, dude, high five. That was I wish I had a fish tank. Maybe I could have made that analogy.
I feel bad sometimes having a fish tank, but I really like it. I just cleaned it all up today.
Well,
I think they're happy.
The thing about pets, though, I mean, I think it is bad that, like we have dogs and we have cats and we have whatever other kind of pets, fish. But at the same time, the situation that we're at in society, it's like, well, I can bring this dog into my house and it can live in this house, or it can sit in that kennel until they put it down.
Mm-hmm. So you just
down in a kennel.
You just went back to what you said earlier. We create a problem and then we try to find a solution to fix the problem we just made.
So maybe I should just go to the kennel and open the gates
and let them all run. No, what we really need to stop is breeding all of them.
That's true, too. There's so many dogs out there. Why are you breeding a dog? There's millions of dogs out there. Just go to Detroit, dude. They're running around.
That's kind of how I felt with people, too. Like, I always tell people that people will be like, oh, so when you grow older, you're going to have kids? And I'm like, me personally, I don't know. I might just adopt a kid because there's tons of kids that don't have families. Like, I don't need to bring another one in.
Right.
And that's not to say that other people have to do that. That's fine if people want to have kids. But I guess I've always looked at it for me personally. Like, there's so many kids that I'd rather be picked up and have a family. So it's like, maybe I should do that first before I have one of my own, you know?
Yeah, I mean, I agree with that. There's lots of kids out there who need a home, who need help, a family.
Or they need nature university.
Or they need Nature University. And let's get into that topic right now. We're going to talk about Nature University. We're going to go ahead and brainstorm on some ideas that we've been discussing.
I think what we should do first, as we lead into this, let me know if you agree or not. Let's do a little explanation of our idea of what this, or what kind of like a brief intro to what Nature University is for people who might not fully grasp the idea. And obviously it's still an idea, so it doesn't have solid things, but we can kind of give an overview of what this is, where it came from, the idea.
Okay. Yeah, I agree.
Did you want to do that? Or did you want me to do that?
Well,
we
basically,
can collab.
The idea of Nature University is to bring experience as well as nature back to education, because let's face it, when you look at schools nowadays, children are, they're sitting in a desk, they're not paying attention because they're forced. You don't want to do something when you're forced, and they're also forced to learn about subjects that they don't really care about. So it'd be nice to bring kids into an atmosphere where they can kind of excel in a subject in the way that they want to. So maybe you're teaching history. Well, maybe not everyone wants to learn about U.S. history. Maybe some of the kids in that class want to learn about, I don't know, Native American history or plant history. So, you can offer these same subjects, but to have one specific subject might not meet the interests of all the students. So we want to kind of just open up the curriculum a little bit, and also add a lot of hands-on experience so people have a foundation. Because one thing that really got me thinking is the movie SLC Punk. There's a line in that movie that Matthew Lillard says. He says, "What do you do when your foundation falls apart?" I don't know. They don't teach you that in school. And that really got me thinking about how kids are leaving school with nothing at all. They leave school and maybe they can get into college, or maybe they can't. Maybe they can't afford it. So then what? Then it all just falls apart. They have nothing to build on. They have no skills. So they just spent 18 years of their life learning nothing of value. They learn nothing that they can use in the, and I quote, this real world. So why would they spend 18 years in a school learning nothing, and then you want to force them to learn something for 4 years out of college, but they have to pay for that? Why don't we just teach them those things during the 18 years instead of forcing them to pay money to go to college? I think college should be free. That's another one of my points. It should
college,
be.
Yeah, I mean, it can be. There's college that's free in other places.
There's a lot of clutter in our education system that can be ripped out and removed. And I think college could move in. I think college should move into where high school is right now.
I think we might have given a brief overview of Nature University. We kind of went off on a tangent there.
We always do.
Basically, Nature University is an idea that, which it's good that we say this on the podcast, because this will help if we want to do anything with Nature University in the future, Nature Middle School, whatever we want to call it, Nature Elementary. But it came from a Change Education podcast. It was born out of that. And it's like a school of it's a school that's an alternative to the Misfits. I wouldn't say it's a place where everyone needs to go, because then we would just be back to where we were. We have a place that everyone has to go to, and it doesn't work for everyone. It works for some people. So you have, it's almost like you're taking Pepsi and you're like, look, we got cherry Pepsi, grape Pepsi, all these weird vanilla Pepsi, like all these weird Pepsis. And that's all the different schools. Like they have different football teams, maybe some have diving, stuff like that. So that's all the different flavors of Pepsi. Well, what we're doing is being like, here's a whole nother choice. It's completely different. You know, here is, think of a drink.
Sounds like we're sponsored by Pepsi.
No. That's if we were sponsored by Pepsi, I'm not really I guess I am, but I'm ripping on them.
Be sure to stop at your local Walmart and pick up some stale Pepsi.
That was a plug. But yeah, I mean, it's just a completely different alternative. It's completely different. Yeah. There is, to me, very little difference taking your kid out of one school and putting him into another, or her into another school. They still have to follow the same like curriculum and guidelines. So the people are different, the technology is different, the books are different. Some schools have books, some don't even have books. But what we're providing is a completely new environment for people who can't find success in the current school system, right?
In the classroom, basically, yeah.
So that's like a brief, turned long overview of Nature University.
Yeah. So I got some cool ideas. This one in particularly came from me noticing. You ever notice how kids, if they're at school, right? They hate being in school. They want to leave school. Like if you could say, hey, you don't have school today, every single kid, or most kids at least, would be like, hell yeah, I'm going home and chilling. But if there's something at school, say, you know, a float building competition, or I don't know, like a school spirit event, every single kid, or at least a lot of kids, will go to school willingly. They'll stay after school. They'll go on the weekends. They love it. It's fun, and they learn. So it's like, why don't we incorporate that kind of learning into school? So I got to thinking, what if we add building to school? So we get these kids outside and have them literally build their own school. And meanwhile, you can also have kids out there growing things, growing food, which is almost like growing your own future, growing your own dreams. Some things I got here. For Nature University, my idea would be every other month would be spent at school. So there'd be 180 days in the school year, and that would be 6 months a year. Every other month would be spent at school, and the other would be spent at home. And this would allow kids to experience education in all the different seasons, as well as be able to experiment and experience all these seasons freely at home, in their own environment, at their own free will, in any way they necessarily want to.
Sorry to cut you off, but that also raises or brought to my attention another idea that let's say whatever the class you're teaching that month is, and I have like kind of like a role that I've developed into for that class, I am now allowed to go home for a month and see what I can find and practice and fine-tune my skills. So when I do come back, they're like, whoa, Steven just came back from his month break and just turned into a completely new person. Like, the way he measures boards and cuts them and puts them together, like, just an intense skill from, like, going home, reading, practicing on my own things. You know, like, I can bring that back to the classroom.
So, like, teachers usually do their curriculum during the summer, which mostly consists of printing out worksheets from the government. and handing them out to their kids. Literally, that's like how most teachers. I mean, I'm sure there's more work involved, but um, instead of having to build this whole curriculum over summer, teachers can take that in between time, that month in between, and figure out their next steps, figure out the next plan.
Yeah, so a break for the teachers to come back and be more creative than the last time. And then, yeah, that's another good point, because teachers, once they find a curriculum that works or a system that works, they use that for like 10 years. They just keep using the same thing, maybe update it here and there. But if you have a month off in between, you can create a new kind of curriculum for those set of students, so it's unique to those students.
Right,
and then the students, yeah, and then the students go home, can refresh, spend some time with their families, go out, but also work on their own interests, and they'll be a lot more encouraged to bring those back to the class, and show people, not just talk about how was your break. No, they'll show people how their break went, and I feel like kids will do that a lot more if they do what you say. It's broke up every other month, because kids are burning out as they go through the classes for a really long time, and then by the time they hit the end, they're like, oh, thank God, and they just don't do shit. They go home and they just they just absorb all the freedom, super lazy, don't want to do anything that requires learning, because they had to do it for so long. So if you have it chopped up, it's like you never feel that burnout of like being in a classroom for 4 months and always going and always doing work, and it just piles onto you.
Yeah, I agree completely. So what would happen is I think this type of learning would be more geared towards, I'd say, ages 9 to 13, which would be like middle school age. And like I said, it would be every other month. And my idea is on the first day of school, right? The kids arrive at school, and all they see is a bunch of teachers in an open field, and they're standing next to piles of lumber, which will soon be their school. So the kids arrive on the first day with, I don't know, maybe a sleeping bag, which should probably be provided by the parents, which, a school could have some sleeping bags. It's not like they're a big cost. And the first night, the kids would sleep in tents. And right off the bat, because you could fit maybe 2 to 3 people per tent, right off the bat, these kids are going to be not forced, but they're going to have no choice but to look for friends. They're going to have no choice but to meet, because no one wants to get stuck in the tent with, like, I don't know, some guy that they don't connect with. So they're going to go out on this first day, and they're going to connect with people. Oh, hey, do you want to be my tent partner? Do you like, I don't know, football and trees? Yeah, I like football and trees. Awesome. So they're going to go out and make these connections right off the bat on day one. So that's going to be cool, and that's kind of like a great icebreaker. You get to that first day of school with a classroom of new kids, and it's like, gross, new people. I don't want to connect. I just want to go in a shell. I just want to be in the place where I know everyone.
Don't call on me.
Yeah, don't call on me. Oh, gosh. So now they're in a place where they're encouraged to make friends. And also, it's just awesome sleeping in a tent and sleeping in a sleeping bag. That's fun. However, it might rain, because I would like school to start in the spring. So the first assignment would be for kids to build some type of shelter, a shelter to protect them from, the harsh weather and the rain and stuff like that. And this is going to have kids working together as a team, finding their own roles. There will be teachers there to guide them, answer their questions, make sure they don't drop a log on someone's head, safety stuff like that. And during construction, students will learn math equations, basic math skills like, counting, measuring, adding, subtracting, supplies, division, multiplying. You're going to learn geometry, because there's all kinds of different shapes in buildings. And once a shelter's built, you can build other things. You know, you could start off maybe with a lean-to um, for shelter to keep you out of the rain. But then you could build furniture. You could build chairs. So maybe at nighttime, when they're sitting around the fire reflecting about what they did that day, they have something to sit on. And it just continues. You know, maybe 1 month could be focused on uh, more hands-on experience, and then another month could be focused on a more mental approach, like reading books and researching. Like, okay, how can I improve my techniques on building? Well, you could read a book on philosophy. The great thing about philosophy is it literally applies to everything in life. Like, you can read a quote by Alan Watts and apply that to hundreds of different aspects of your life. It's not just one thing. It's not just like, oh, I have to change this. It's like, not only can I change that, but I can change that design. I can change that first paragraph in that book that I'm working on. I can change the way I'm building this, and maybe it'll come out better. I can change the way I'm doing things. You know, I
Yeah,
think
I
that
do.
would help.
I mean, I guess what I see is I see nature junior high kind of like once you're at that age where you're able to do like labor and things like that. I mean, when nature elementary might be preparing yourself to do that kind of thing.
Right.
Maybe nature universe or elementary is kind of like teaching kids at a young age how to embrace creativity, how to embrace thinking outside of the box, meditation, all of that important learning from within kind of techniques and studying and reading and stuff like that at a younger age, but also out in nature. And maybe they could go and observe the nature junior high kids building things.
I think that's a cool idea.
And like every class builds, like you said, their own. Like the junior high kids build their school, and then once that's built, that's been built. They needed the other class that comes in to build something else, so they can build nature elementary, and then the other class that comes in for the next junior high class of 2020 comes in, and they have to build something, so they build nature university. So you keep just building.
Right.
And you see how all of a sudden you just solved the problem for limited school buildings? If every class is building, it's exponentially growing. Soon you have all of these schools because that's part of your curriculum is building. And think about that too. Like you built your own school.
Yeah,
like there's a little bit more like, hey man, why are you spitting on the carpet? Like, why are you destroying that? Like, the class before you just built that. Like, the class after you just built, or the class behind you is going to build something new. Like, we're all in this. Why are you destroying it?
Sorry to cut you off. I was even thinking in between classes, you could even build your own. Like, you could kind of disassemble the houses or the structures that were built and let the next class reassemble their own structures. This way, each set of kids are kind of making their own different, unique buildings to learn in.
So 1 year would have to be spent building their own classroom.
Right.
What happens when they have it built? Do they use the classroom, or is it for someone else?
So I think the idea would be you would split the class into two people, or two groups of people. One group would be building, and the other group would be growing. So the growers would be, foraging for food, learning plant specimens, learning how to grow food and cook food.
I would say even before that, like, they learn plant specimens.
That too, yeah. I mean, that's something that can be, you can teach a little kid something. And, the other group would be building. So the idea would be, okay, you got here in spring. It's going to rain. You need to build something that you can build quickly and that will protect you from the rain. And then it'll also be like, okay, well, it's getting cold, or it's going to get cold soon. you need to build something where we can go inside and be warm. So their idea would be, first you build the lean-to or whatever for to get you out of the rain, and then you would build the next structure and try to finish that by summer, so you can learn indoors during the winter and stuff. And like you said, the fact that these kids are building their own, you could call it a fort. You know, if you go out in the woods and you build a fort, I guarantee you're gonna want to go back to that fort every day. You're gonna be excited to go to that fort. You're gonna be like, dude, you want to go to this fort I built in the woods? I just built it. It's freaking awesome. Let's go. Let's go read books, or let's go just hang out in the fort. So like these kids are grouping together and building a fort for all 30, 40 of them or whatever, however many there are. And along the way, they're learning all these extra skills. They're learning all these math skills. They're learning all these labor skills. They're exercising. They're going to be having to pick up lumber. They're going to have breaks during the day where they can kind of just do whatever they want, run around, play sports, read books, whatever. They'll have that free time. And perhaps the beginning of the day could be spent building. The afternoon could be a break. And later in the afternoon, they can spend that time, researching or learning. And at nighttime, I'm thinking writing, attack writing skills. So you could have these kids write in like a journal or even draw, because some kids like to draw. So you could have them write and draw in these journals about what they did that day. They can reflect upon what they did, what they learned, what they like, what they didn't like, new friendships. And they could even share some of this stuff, at the end of the day, sit by the fire and talk about it, talk about the ideas for tomorrow. Hey, we should put a window on that. Hey, wouldn't it be cool if we did that post in a squiggly line? Get really creative and talk about it. I think that'd be cool.
Yeah, I guess I'm thinking along the lines of, I think we're starting to see kind of where we would be if we were teachers in this area. I feel like I would want to be the teacher of nature elementary and kind of prepare the kids for your nature middle school or nature junior high. Maybe I'll be nature middle school or something, but I would want to try to get the ideas in the kids' minds so that you don't have to kind of be like, hey, you guys should be brainstorming right now, or you should be writing in your journals right now. It's almost like they'll be doing it automatically because they understand the benefits of doing that. They'll be doing drawing and writing and planning and scheming, and basically my job would be like, let's find your roles. And then when you graduate and go to your school, which is right across the way, because we want them close so they observe each other all the time and intermingle and stuff.
And because those kids are small, they're not going to be able to build their own school. However,
but they need to be taught. They need to be prepared for your school. So that way it's not like they're coming in and being like, I hate that guy. He doesn't do his fair share. Like, you have to kind of teach kids how to deal with those kind of situations. You have to teach them how to collaborate and how cooperation is more important than standing out. So, like, all of that can be learned. Like, getting rid of the ego side of you and always wanting things for yourself. You teach them sharing, like how much happiness you get from sharing. Like, all that could be taught or shown to the younger generation, the very young age kids. That way, by the time they're in nature junior high, they're ready to build. They're ready to do things. Like, they're educated to the point where it's like, all right, let's kill this job. Like, let's take care of this. Does that make sense? Like,
no, that makes total sense. I think I didn't even think about that. That's an awesome idea.
Like, it's just preparing them for that kind of environment.
You're kind of like taking these kids and kind of just pulling out their creativity and like.
In my job, and my job is like, if a kid is like, I don't want to build, like, I don't want to do that, and a kid's like, I don't want to do anything that's in nature junior high. None of it really interests me. My job then is to figure out what is it that you like to do. And once I find that role, what I can do is meet up with you and the person who owns the whole place and be like, look, we have these kids right here, and we need to spend as much time as we can to creatively fit them in to this curriculum. We need to find a way that they can take their roles and apply them to nature junior high. So what are we going to do here? Like,
maybe that kid that you're talking about, maybe he's kind of the class clown, you know? He really doesn't like to build. He doesn't really like to read. He kind of just likes to joke around, you know, have a good time. Well, entertainment, comedian, jokes, you know? People love to laugh.
Inspire.
Motivator. People love to laugh. Motivator, you know, you make people smile. If I had someone who could just follow me around all day while I worked and just tell me jokes, dude, I'd work so much faster because I'd just be smiling and laughing the whole time. So it's like, there's your role, you know what I mean? Like, if you're the class clown, all right, you literally, you're not a bad kid. You're a comedian.
Yeah.
You're not a class clown. You're a comedian.
And
I noticed that the other day. It's like these teenagers who are like, you know, they're growing weed or whatever in their closet. They're not criminals. They're farmers. They grow things. They know how to grow plants. That kid shouldn't be sitting in a jail cell. He should probably be working on a farm growing plants.
Yeah. Or tea.
Or tea or whatever.
What was I gonna say? Crap. I think I lost it.
Oh jeez.
Oh well. It'll come back when it comes back. Basically, I was just going to say that, like, at a young age, you can teach your kids, like, hey, hopefully by the time they get to nature junior high, it's not them being like, hey, this comedian guy, he doesn't push his weight around here. I got to do more hard labor. Why is he getting to sleep in the same room as me and eat the same food as me when I'm putting in more work? The goal of Nature Elementary is to kind of get rid of those ideas. Like, those don't need to be reinforced. Ideas that need to be reinforced are like sharing, cooperation, big picture, seeing how that comedian is providing a lot of benefit. So we live in a world now, like, we can't distinguish we can't put money or amount on happiness right now. So it's like, by talking to you, a lot of people will be like, you know, look, you're going to have to make this short, like 15 minutes. You can crack some jokes, do whatever, but I really need to get to work because that's how I make money. You see what I mean? Like, being happy and communicating with people and hanging out with people should be worth more than the things we're doing right now. So you kind of have to teach those kids, like, to see all the abstract things like love, happiness, laughter as worth a lot more than, you know, I'm hammering more nails and you're cracking jokes. Like, I'm doing more.
I really agree with that.
You know?
I see this on a bigger scale. I've noticed this a lot lately with the revolution that's going on. There's so many people that are like, oh, you know, you weren't at the protest, or, you know, you weren't out in the streets screaming your head off with a sign. You're not part of the revolution. You're not doing your share. But there's other parts to this, you know, revolution. It's like, well, where do you think that guy with the poster board with the fact on it is getting the fact? He's getting the fact from some guy who's not standing on the street, but from some guy who's doing his research.
Yep.
And where do you think some of these people are getting the motivation to even be on the streets or learning about it? There's different levels, and there's different roles that are involved in this full revolution. It's not just the guy on the street. There's a whole system of different elements and different roles that combine to create this entire movement. So I've been noticing that too, and I really like that you brought that up.
Yeah, that's a really good point. You know, have them understand that nobody's role is more important than anybody else's or less important. And it's not, I'm on top of you, so you obey what I say. Like, it's not really going to be that way. It's more of a, hey, we're all on the same equal level here.
I agree completely. And the cool thing about having kids grow plants is that they're literally learning the basic skills of how to be a parent, which I think how to be a parent is that's like gone. Like I've been looking at parenting recently, and all they do is just control their kids and yell at them all day. The house behind me, I was outside working in my garden yesterday, and the kids were just running outside, having fun, laughing, and every 10 minutes, the mom was coming out telling them to shut up and sit down and stuff like that. I'm just thinking, why? The kids are just out there having fun. What's the big deal? Why are you being such like a bitch? So, and then it was funny actually because the one day, it was last week, that same thing was happening, right? The parent was coming out yelling at the kids, and meanwhile, the neighbors to the other side of me, they had their dogs outside, and they were yelling at their dogs, and they were literally both saying like the same thing. Stop that! Get over here! Sit down! I'm like, what is going on?
It's like, hey, behave in the natural world like a human.
Yeah, they're treating these. They treat kids like dogs, and we treat dogs like humans. I've noticed.
It's very weird. Why does a kid have to sit down and be quiet outside? Usually it's because it's bothering other people.
Yeah.
Like, why does a kid exploring their curiosity bothering you? Like, I can't watch my TV because all I hear is kids screaming, jumping around outside. And the parent is yelling at their kids because either they want to watch TV or they're worried about their kids bothering their neighbors.
Or something else. They're, all these over-worried parents and these overprotective parents. I got to watch my kids 24/7. I have to watch them or they'll get hurt. I can't let them do anything by themselves ever. I have to be there. I have to have full control of them. So then they have to make this decision. Well, I want to watch TV because my show is on. And the kids want to have fun. Tell you what, kids.
Sit down.
Yeah, you can
quiet.
sit down on the couch and I'll watch my show. How about that? We want to go outside. I'm the parent. No. How about no? You can go to your room.
You'll listen to me. Why? Because I'm the parent.
Yeah, or because I said so.
Whoa, look out. We got a lawyer here.
So, this over worrying is creating these situations where instead of going outside and where they can watch their kids outside, they kind of drag them along with them. They take them to the mall. You ever see a kid in the mall? They look like a puppy, like a sad puppy. The kids being dragged around in the mall. They're just like, I don't want to be here.
Or if they do try to find something entertaining, the parent's like, stop. Stay close to me.
Down. No curiosity in the mall. They drag them behind them, or you see them pushing them.
Your curiosity.
They're pushing them in the carts in the mall, and every single one of those babies in the carts is crying because they don't want to be there. I can't go to malls, dude. I cannot go to a mall. It's literally like zombies walking around.
Yeah, kind of. I don't really go that many times. Lately, when I've been going straight to the bookstore.
Same. Yeah.
It's like, man.
All right, we got sidetracked here, but in good conversation. One other thing I want to add is because the economy is such an important thing, why not? Yeah, right. Important. It's super important. Money fuels us. Let's add jobs to this. Why not make this school an opportunity for more jobs? So instead of having one teacher looking after 25, 30 kids and trying to control them all by cramming in a room and forcing them all to learn the same way, why not add 5 teachers? Have one teacher per 5 students, and then you can get you can get even more direct, and you create more jobs. So maybe these 5 kids build a different way, and these 5 kids I don't know, they like do something different. They like to build another way. Well, now you have two different teachers who can show them, who can help them and guide them in these two different ways. You have multiple perspectives to learn from.
Here's the thing that we might run into. We can't use money in Nature University.
Oh, so it has to be all volunteer work.
It'll be for the teachers who are like, I don't really want to deal with money. I want to get out of this stuff. I just want to practice what I like to practice every day. So Nature University is a place where, as long as you put in the work, everyone does their fair share of gardening, and we design self-sustaining buildings and homes.
Of course.
We could have a community, a neighborhood within Nature University's area,
right,
where everybody just walks to class, like the building class. So these teachers are able to spend all day, not all day, but a lot of the day teaching kids their specific field that they enjoy. Like,
I gotta pause you for 1 sec because there's a major flaw in this idea. The United States government, they're very creative and tricky when it comes to taxes. So they came up with this thing called property tax, which we all must pay, even if we own the land, even if we paid for the land in full and own it. So if we wanted to have this Nature University, we would have to own land, which would cost money. You would have to pay taxes and stuff on it, so you would have to earn some type of profit.
I think that would be easy.
I have a solution to that.
It's easy.
So these kids are, they're building stuff, they're creating art, they're learning. Sell it.
Yep.
We'll build
farmers market.
We'll build our own shop, sell fruits and vegetables. Kids can sell their art. Not every kid's going to be building stuff. Some of them will be painting art. We like art we have art on our walls. Why not have art for our classrooms? And
it would just be sold to cover the expenses that we need to cover. It's not I'm making money for my own self. Like it's a place that would work because people want to get out of being a slave to money. Mm-hmm. They would earn money just to pay things that they absolutely need to pay for. But other than that, you're free to eat as many vegetables as you want, but good luck trying to hoard vegetables because you were taught at a young age that that's not cool, and the community is not going to, appreciate that. So you're not thinking about, hey, I need to keep this all to myself. You're thinking more of like in a community. You're like, well, that wouldn't be very nice. Like, what about everyone else? That's how people would probably think in this environment when there's no money involved and you're taught a lot different. You're in a completely different environment. So a place for people to go, like teachers would probably not be that big of a problem. Because let's face it, if you really want to be a teacher, why do you want to be a teacher? Is it because you're getting a paycheck, or is it because you just absolutely love teaching children your passion? That's really what's going to attract them there. It's like, hey, I get a building, a bed, and food, organic, fresh, and I get to spend all day, other than gardening and taking care of myself and my duties, I get to teach kids my passion.
Yeah, and you get a month off in between to do whatever you want. So,
yeah,
maybe some of that money from selling stuff does get saved up, and kids can take trips to places on that month off. Hey, we sold a whole bunch of chairs last month or whatever, a whole bunch of fruits and vegetables. Let's take a trip to so-and-so. You can do things like that, and that's self-sustaining. There is no tax money even going towards something like this. Maybe we could get away from, do taxes pay property, or churches pay property tax?
No. I mean, there's ways around it. I think there's already communities being built that are self-sustaining communities, but I think they get donations too.
Yeah.
So, if you're you just have to be creative. That's really what it comes down to. And if you ever run into a barrier for creating something, and you can't get past it, it's just because you haven't thought out of the box enough. You haven't thought of a creative solution to get past.
Or in the box enough.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's deep within, sometimes it's deep without, you know? Sometimes there's things that we learn just by thinking really deep. And other times we learn from just looking out at the open sky. Sometimes I wonder, like, how far down I have to pull and pluck from my thoughts till I reach the thoughts of the stars. You know, like, we're all built and created from the stardust or whatever you want to call it. Well, it's like, how far down in my mind are those memories of being a star? How far down is that trapped?
Oh, I see what you're saying.
Yeah. It'd be cool to reach those.
Yeah.
If you think abstract enough and deep enough, you might reach it.
Maybe.
What?
Longest pause in the history of Mind Movers Podcast.
I was just blown away by all the stuff we've said. I think this is a really good idea, and I know a lot of this is just talk.
Save it.
But it's, it's all written down. We write down all these notes, and we're both pretty serious and passionate about this, and I think it's definitely a possibility for the future, especially if, this whole movement continues to change things and change the way people want to learn.
Yeah, I mean, I think we should probably continue right where we left off here on the next Nature University Change Education podcast.
Yeah, and we also have another idea, which is more so a definite possibility for the future. We're going to start recording short, like, classes. So basically, it'll be a podcast that you can download. It might be, 10, 20 minutes, and it'll be just a short curriculum, questions, answers, more so questions and answers. And, you can listen to these, and then you can go research it, go learn from it.
And that's definitely a big project. So I wouldn't guarantee it, but it's definitely a possibility.
Yeah, when we find the time, we're definitely going to get in on that.
It might be something where we record all of them before we release them. That way, like, we have them done, so it's not like, sorry guys, we're not releasing another class because I didn't have the time. Like, we just get, 20 of them recorded, and then we can put them all up.
Yeah, that's a good idea. So we look forward to doing that in the future sometime, and I hope you enjoyed this podcast.
And hope you guys enjoyed DMT Truth also on this episode. That was pretty awesome. So I'm glad we had that as well.
Perhaps DMT Truth can be a teacher at the university.
There you go.
The
nighttime teacher.
Yeah, he can be on the night
shift.
That's a good idea.
Dude, that would be cool. Night shift teacher for the kids who can't sleep.
Yeah, for kids who learn better at the night. I know I would totally learn better at night. I love reading things at night, reading
Just
books
like,
at night.
You can't sleep? Head on down to night class. Call it nocturnal class.
Whenever I write stuff, I write my blogs or I research stuff, I always do that at nighttime. So there definitely is a lot of students and kids out there who learn better at night.
Maybe that's how we'll start next time.
Yeah, we'll touch on that topic next podcast, and I hope you enjoyed it. Thanks for listening.
Yeah, thanks for listening, folks. Make sure you use the hashtag MindMoversPodcast, and we'll see it, won't we, Brando?
Yeah, we'll see it. We always, not always, but we usually respond to them. So if you have any questions or things you want to say to us, or you want to share quotes so your friends can see it, just use the MindMoversPodcast hashtag, and it'll also connect you with other listeners. Also, if if instead of using Twitter, you want to contact us, you have a question or something, just use the website, use our contact page. We always, we check those emails pretty consistently. So, we will read it and we will get back to you. And I'm Brando. You can find me on Twitter at mind_of_peace.
And I'm Steve. You can find me on Twitter at youth_thinking. Later.
Peace. 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 Peace.